What's up, Flanors? It is time for Monday Night Football of Week 17. Going to be breaking down this Rams-Falcons game, going position by position, starting with quarterbacks, then running backs, receivers, tight ends, defenses, kickers. We'll take a look at defensive matchups, usage trends, etc. While we go. If you could, please do like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already done so. I am, of course, currently running The Sims. I will be making my lineups right here on this stream. Hopefully you guys have something that you're cheering for tonight, which would mean that you've made it to week 17 in your fantasy championship or in a best ball final or something to look forward to. If not, hopefully we can find something to look forward to in this game. Kind of a high scoring one. Falcons have like a 28 implied team total, Rams 21 or so. So could be some fireworks in this game. I know some of us are cheering for that. Some of us are not very much. I know Sam Sherman would prefer no fireworks in this game. Let's get into it from a DFS perspective, though. Again, we're going to start with the quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford, 10,800, leads a Rams offense that ranks third in pass rate over expectation. The Rams like to run the ball, facing the Falcons defense that has allowed the 16th most schedule adjusted fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. So totally middling matchup for Matthew Stafford. Going to be throwing a lot. Based on the sims that I ran earlier, I was under the field pretty significantly on Matthew Stafford. We'll see if that is still the case. It's all going to be very ownership dependent, and I might have to adjust the ownership here. We'll see what I get in the sims. But generally, I think Matthew Stafford is a relatively strong play. If he's in about half of the field's lineups, I think I'd like to be somewhere near that. Maybe I'll come in a little bit underweight. That's what the sims are giving me earlier. I think it makes sense to be somewhat under the weight. Andrew says that he thinks that the ownership is pretty off. How do you adjust for this? Well, you can adjust the ownership within Run the Sim. So I will do that. I'll be adjusting the ownership, and then I'll rerun the sims. But yeah, if you think the ownership seems off, you can just adjust anything that you think is wrong, and then you can click the normalize ownership button. Like if there's one spot that you're like, this is way too high, this is way too low, just adjust those little things, and then click the normalize ownership button and click normalize, and it will adjust across all the players. Do you think everyone without Puka or Bijan in the year-long leagues will be playing them as a hedge, thus boosting ownership? No, I don't think people think like that. I would not expect people to be factoring that in at all. I mean, maybe a few people, but like not enough to move ownership at all. All right, so yeah, Matthew Stafford. I suspect I'll be under the field on Matthew Stafford. I think he's a totally fine play. If you're hand building, you want to play some Matthew Stafford. No issue with it. He's obviously like going to be throwing the ball. They should be able to put up points on the Falcons. In terms of the matchup with the Falcons, it is over the past 5 weeks is this what I said? I think this is a better matchup than I said. Let me go find my notes. Maybe I wrote it down wrong. Yeah, 16th most is what I wrote in my notes, or maybe they've changed this since I did my research earlier. But it looks like a better matchup than I had written down. Top 12 or so matchup for quarterbacks against the Falcons. So decent matchup. They want to throw the ball. I think Matthew Stafford, obviously a strong play. If I play him anywhere in my lineup, I want him to be stacked up with a pass catcher. Just doesn't run at all. I believe negative rushing yards on the season. So with non-rushing quarterbacks, I want them to be stacked up with pass catchers because the pass catcher outscores a quarterback on every passing play. And then if I'm in the captain spot, I would like to have Matthew Stafford stacked up with multiple pass catchers. Been over this, I'll do the refresher. The reason that you want, if you have a non-rushing quarterback in the captain spot, especially if they are an expensive quarterback, it's very difficult for the quarterback to be the highest scoring player, the captain that you want, if they're passing it too much to one player, because on every single passing play, the receiver outscores the quarterback. They get a point per reception. They get more points per yard, more points per touchdown, et cetera, et cetera. So for the quarterback to be the optimal captain, first of all, they need to score a ton of fantasy points, which means if they're not a rushing quarterback, they're throwing for a lot of yards. They're throwing for probably multiple touchdowns, all of that. So typically, if they are throwing it too much to one receiver, that receiver is going to outscore them. And unless this receiver is way more expensive than the quarterback, it just means that the receiver is probably going to be optimal. So if you have the quarterback in the captain spot, and they're a non-rushing quarterback, you usually want them with multiple pass catchers. Obviously, there are weird scenarios where like the quarterback will throw a touchdown to a lineman. They spread the ball around a lot. Like there are some scenarios where you can get it with just like one pass catcher with a non-rusher, but it's pretty rare. Typically, if you have a non-rushing quarterback, especially in a condensed target tree, you want to have them with multiple pass catchers in the flex. Cousins, same thing as far as stacking goes. I always want him stacked up. If I have him in the captain spot, I want him to be stacked up with multiple pass catchers. It is a better matchup for Atlanta. So this is, I believe, 10th or so in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. Let me go find my notes there. Yeah, again, okay. I don't know what I maybe I did it without the last 5 when I was writing down my notes. Both of these matchups look better than I had written down in my article. So apologies for that. I don't know if this because this has been updated since this morning or if I was just reading it wrong, but it looks like this is about the 10th best matchup for quarterbacks against the Falcons, schedule adjusted over the past 5 weeks. So positive matchups for both the quarterbacks. Excuse me. Again, I think Cousins is actually going to be not super highly owned. Like he'll be in under 50% of lineups, and I think that makes sense. I'm going to have under 50% of Cousins. Also, we just have really strong pass catchers. So Puka Nacua, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, et cetera, et cetera. Just a lot of really strong options. So this is a slate where there's so much on the high end that being a little bit underweight on the quarterbacks makes sense to me, and I expect to be pretty underweight on both quarterbacks. Anything else? I think that's it on quarterbacks. What's up, Lucky Panda? If London, probably I wouldn't say that necessarily, Aaron. I think you can get away with London without Cousins because London can get there with volume. Like he can get 10 receptions and that's 10 points just from PPR that Cousins doesn't get. So I would not necessarily say if London, probably include Cousins. All right. Moving on to running backs. Let's see. Okay, my sims are run. So I'll tell you what the first run of sims gave me. I will, of course, be adjusting as expected, still well under the field on both quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford projected for 49% flex ownership, 22% captain ownership. I got to 15% in the flex, none at captain. I do think that this is one of the spots where this ownership seems wrong to me. So I'm going to adjust this ownership downward. I'll probably get to a little bit more Stafford as a result, but he is looking over-owned, even at like Roto Grinders. They have him at 13% at captain, which is a lot less than 22. But it's still high, but it's a lot less than 22. They also have him 49% in the flex. I'm actually going to refresh this because these are the same numbers as earlier. I want to make sure that this is all up to date. It probably is. They probably just didn't need to adjust anything because we didn't get any crazy inactives or anything. But yeah, they still have about the same ownership. I am going to adjust it downward because I do think that this seems too high. I doubt 22% of the field plays Stafford at captain. So maybe I'll end up with a little bit more in my next run, but I'm right with the field on Cousins, getting to 33% flex, 1% captain. He's projected for 31 and 3, so just slightly over the field at flex, under at captain. At running back, this is one of the more cut and dried running back slates. Jarquez Hunter is inactive as expected. We really only have 2 running backs to consider from both teams, and they are all fantastic options. That is, I'm getting to a ton of the running backs in this game. Bijan Robinson, 11,800, projected for 32 and 16% at captain ownership. I'm getting to 56 and 28. Tyler Algier, 3,800, projected for 14% and 0. I got to 28 and 3. I think Algier is a fantastic play. Bijan scares me a little bit, and largely because of Adam and I talked about this on the show earlier. For anybody who did not see that, in the most recent game, 16 carries apiece for Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Evenly split the carries. Bijan did have a lot more snaps, played 70% of snaps. Algier played 40%, so they overlap some. Bijan also did see 11 targets. So I guess I shouldn't be afraid to play Bijan if he had 16 carries and 11 targets and still did play 70% of the snaps. So I take it back. Adam kind of scared me on Bijan's usage He should not have, because this is pretty strong usage for Bijan. So maybe I wasn't hearing what he was saying. But Algier does look pretty strong. 16 carries in that game. Also had one target over the past 3 games. Bijan Robinson, 55 carries and 24 targets. That's 8 targets per game, 65% route participation. Algier about 1 target per game. Also had 13 carries total in the 2 games prior to last week, so just under 10 carries per game for Algier. You'll have to forgive me. My throat is kind of got a little tickle to it. I'm nervous that I'm getting sick, but hoping that I can survive this. Might just be doing too much talking with so many NFL slates lately. So Bijan, just like from a volume perspective, like he's clearly one of the best fantasy players in the game. I'm getting to a ton. My guess is I come in a little bit under what I have right now on Bijan, but maybe not by that much. I still would expect to be over the field. Tyler Algier, I want to be over the field there as well. Happy to be more than double the field on Algier. As far as the matchup goes for the running backs, let's see. Middle of the pack for Bijan and the Atlanta running backs. It is a kind of tough matchup for Rams running backs, 5th worst in terms of schedule adjusted over the past 5 weeks. So not ideal for the Rams running backs. I still think that they are also fantastic plays. Kyren Williams, 9,600 projected for 13% flex ownership, 5% captain ownership. I'm getting to 52 flex and 23 captain, so well over the field on Kyren Williams. Blake Corum, 4,600 projected for 22% ownership. I'm getting to 53 and 16. I think across the board, I am going to adjust the pass rates up a little bit and get slightly less of the running backs here, just because I mean that's a ton. Wait, how do you find the Rotogrunners ownership? I'm there and have a DFS sub, but it's only showing total ownership. You have lineup HQ. Go to lineup HQ. That's what I'm using here. So if you go to the Rotogrunners homepage, go to the NFL tab or whatever the DFS tab, lineup HQ, and you can see it here. The split by captain ownership and then flex ownership. So you should be able to find it there. So I think I'm going to end up overweight on every running back in this game. I don't think it's going to be quite to the extent that I have it right now, where I have over 50% in the flex of both Kyren Williams and Blake Corum, and 16% Corum captain, 23% Kyren captain. I'll probably adjust somewhat off of this. I am also debating, and I'll mention this again while I'm making my lineups later, so that you do not tail me on what I'm doing. I'm debating hedging somewhat with Bijan Robinson, because I have him in my best ball lineup. I might just hedge and play less of Bijan as a result, because I'm already going to be ecstatic if he has a huge game. So I might not want a ton of him in DFS. But again, that's not DFS analysis. That is, as I make my lineups later, I might do that. I just want to warn you that that's something I might attempt to do. But I think he's a fantastic play in DFS if you're not trying to hedge. Anything else on running backs? I don't think. I think pretty strong usage. I mean, these are. Oh, I didn't look at the Rams usage for the past 3. So just under 10 carries per game for Tyler Algier. I see Debro in chat saying, "Give me all the Corum." And yeah, I mean, look at the stats. So we have this is the past 3 weeks. 51 carries for Kyren Williams, so that's 17 carries per game over the past 3, plus 3 targets per game for Kyren over the past 3, on 47% route participation. Blake Corum, also 37 carries over the past 3, so just over 12 carries per game, 1 target per game on 19.5% route participation. But it looks even better if you just look at last week. So we have this is the first game without Devontae Adams, and they were a little bit more involved in the passing game. Kyren Williams in particular, 23 carries in that game, also 6 targets on 57% route participation. That's more than you usually expect for Kyren Williams. So I actually love Kyren in this game. I think he's a fantastic play. But Corum, certainly, I mean, 14 carries in the most recent game, only ran 11.8% of routes, but did see 2 targets as well. And he's not that expensive. So Kyren and Corum, to me, both look like fantastic plays. I think generally the running backs in this game look like really strong plays. Okay. All right, D-Bro telling me do not do it. Do not hedge with off of Bijan. Yeah, I mean, it's I probably won't hedge much. All right, because I just want to cheer for Bijan. Okay, I'm going to move on to wide receivers. Steven, I love the idea of a whiskey for my throat. Maybe later. Maybe I'll try a whiskey to soothe the throat later. Maybe a hot toddy. Maybe the hot toddy is what I need. For now, probably just water though. All right, moving on to wide receivers. Puka Nacua at 12,200, projected for 47% flex ownership, 35% captain ownership. I'm getting to 34% flex, 8% captain, so well under the field on Puka Nacua. It is terrifying. It's just an ownership based thing. Like if I move down Puka's ownership a bit, I will certainly get to more. He's pretty obviously he and Bijan, I would say, are pretty obviously the two. I mean, they are the two highest projected players on the slate by kind of a wide margin. You can see that just if I go to flex, sort by fantasy points. Puka 25.5. He's the highest projection on the slate. Bijan 21.64. Stafford actually not as far behind as I thought with a projection of 20, but Bijan and Puka are the two highest projected plays on the slate. Tough to argue that Puka is not a great play. Just looking at last week, first game without Devontae Adams, 16 targets for Puka Nacua on 86.3% route participation. The matchup for receivers against Atlanta, also a positive one, sixth best in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. So you get great matchup, getting tons of usage with no Devontae Adams. Everything looks pretty good for Puka Nacua. Tough matchup for slot receivers, and Puka does run some in the slot, but he also runs primarily out wide, so not super concerned about the slot specific matchup for Puka. I guess if you had to poke a hole in it and say a way that Puka fails, first of all, he is expensive, obviously, so he needs a big score to pay off his price tag. But on top of needing a big price tag, it is possible that because Devonta Adams is out, they double team Puka. They really just set up for let's stop Puka Nacua, make them beat us with somebody else. I'm not sure it matters. I'm not sure that they can really stop Puka Nacua, but it is possible that the Falcons defense really tries to stop Puka. So that would be if you want to poke holes in it. But most likely he's going to see double-digit targets. He's going to have a big game. I think he's a fantastic play. I do think I will be underweight on Puka if he comes in over 80% owned, because we do have a number of pretty good plays on this slate and players that I think could potentially outscore Puka Nacua. I'll continue on with the Rams before I move on to the Falcons receivers. Konata Muntfield, 2,200, projected for 53% flex, 3% captain. This is one that I'm going to adjust downward. I believe Rotogrinders has him at like 33. I think I'm going to use, they have him at 33%. I'm going to use the Rotogrinders ownership on Konata Muntfield because this just seems like more than I would expect for Muntfield. I would not like him as a play at greater than 50% ownership. 33%, he would look a little bit better. So I'm going to use a lower ownership number on Muntfield, and I'll get to more than the 8% I'm getting to right now. I suspect I'll still be underweight to the field on Muntfield. He's an interesting one because if you look at just the most recent game, 8 targets on 49% route participation, like that seems like he's a pretty good target earner. But prior to the last game, he had 8 targets on the season and was like I think he's up to 0.13 targets per route run after this massive game last week. So he's not been a target earner on the season. Last week was the exception. He only caught 3 of the 8 balls thrown to him last week, so that's not ideal as far as earning more targets going forward. All of that said, the coach speak had been really positive on Konata Muntfield. Actually, let me go find it. The coach speak on Muntfield because the team kept on referencing like, oh yeah, he's similar to Devonta Adams. He can play a Devonta Adams role. Now obviously he's not Devonta Adams, but most recent coach speak on the 19th, Konata Muntfield. This is from head coach Sean McVay. Konata Muntfield made plays last night. He's continued to ascend. Xavier Smith delivers when he's asked. Jordan Whittington does the same. Tutu Atwell did a good job affecting and influencing coverage on some of the snaps he played. Let's see. Konata Muntfield has done a great job. That's the 16th. Here's the best quote from the 15th, the most positive from offense coordinator Mike LaFleur. Kadada Montfield is always absorbing all the little nuances of receiver play. He has similar traits to Devonta Adams just in terms of how they're wired in their lower half and how they see the game. Mump is a smart dude. Devonta has really taken a hand to Mump because he probably sees a lot of the similar traits that he was when he was younger. So, yeah, he's been running a lot of routes. He saw 8 targets in the last game. You can certainly make a case if he's going to be over 50% owned. I think that's just too much for Kadada Montfield, even with the really nice price tag. I think there are other players that can beat him out, but he's no doubt a very strong point per dollar play. Xavier Smith, 2,000 projected for 8% ownership. I'm getting to 3%. Again, if we just look at that most recent game, which was with Devonta Adams, just 2 targets for Xavier Smith on 29% route participation. And by the way, I didn't say at the beginning of the show, but Devonta Adams has been ruled inactive. I know there was some question that he could play. I never really thought there was a chance he was going to play. He is inactive, so it's going to be probably similar rotation, potentially. I guess we only have 1 game sample, but we have Devonta Adams out again. Xavier Smith saw 2 targets in that last game. He looks like a fine play at 2,008% ownership. Jordan Whittington, 1,800, project for 1%. I'm getting to 1%. Tutu Atwell, I didn't get to any at 4%. He's 3,000, so kind of expensive for the role, where last week Tutu Atwell only ran, this is for the season, let's see, 7 routes, wasn't targeted last week for a $3,000 receiver. He's priced too high. He's priced, you should be like $600 based on his usage, and he's 3,000 instead. So if I got to a little bit of Tutu or Whittington, I'd be fine with it. But I do think, Mumfield more likely to see more volume, Xavier Smith more likely. On the Falcon side, I do have a lot of interest in Drake London. I'm actually getting less than the field right now. I'm probably going to adjust. Drake London, 9,800 projected for 30% flex ownership, 8% captain ownership. I got to 28 and 8. What I like about Drake London is he was awesome for, a big stretch of the season. He was kind of the alpha receiver here on the Falcons, and then he missed 4 games, came back, only played a limited role in week 16, ran 69.4% of routes, and he saw 8 targets already. So the fact that he already kind of regained his role as the top target when he's on the field, and I would expect his route participation to go up. I think there's a lot to like about Drake London, especially if he's not going to get a ton of ownership, which to me 30 and 8 seems a little bit low. And I believe the captain ownership, they have more at RotoGrinders at flex. They have 38% flex ownership, 6% captain ownership. So it looks a little bit better at captain there. So I do like Drake London. I think he's probably going to take on a bigger role this week. Darnell Mooney, kind of a fun contrarian play, although now we've got him at 20% flex ownership. This is higher than it had been, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was lower than that earlier in the day. Let me see where he is elsewhere. Darnell Mooney, 22%. So he is over 20% projected ownership. I'm also getting to 17% in the flex, 3% captain of Darnell Mooney. Just 2 targets last week. So with Drake London back, didn't see a great role for Darnell Mooney last week, but he was good last year. With Drake London on the team, he had a strong role last year. He's still running a lot of routes. I still kind of believe in the splash play upside of Darnell Mooney. So I think I like him probably better than this 20%. I guess I'm getting slightly under the field there, but I think Mooney a fairly strong contrarian play. Then you have Chris Blair, David Sills. Chris Blair is 200 projected for 3.6% ownership. I got to 6.3. David Sills, 2,800 projected for 1%. I got to 1%. I didn't get to any Dylan Drummond. David Sills, kind of an interesting one, because if we look at the route participation, had been pretty strong in recent weeks and then dropped down to 30.6%. That was with Charlie Warner running 42% of routes. So there seems to be some negative correlation between David Sills and the tight end Charlie Warner. If we could see Sills' route participation come back up and Warner's dip back down. There was a period of the season where Sills was suddenly running after their week 5 bye. He ran 46, 45, and 97% of routes. 97 was with Drake London out, so we can kind of throw that out, but he was running, 40 some percent of routes in the middle of the season, and kind of held on to pretty strong route participation, and then it just dropped down a lot in the last game as Charlie Warner took over a bigger role. Um, who knows if this is a trend and Charlie Warner is going to continue to see a bigger role, or if that was just a one game kind of blip where David Sills saw his role downgraded with Drake London back. So I think he's a fine play. Still not much of a target earner. I don't think that I need to have a ton of him. 1% that I'm getting right now, honestly, probably fine. Chris Blair at just 200. I mean, if we look at, I guess we can look at Chris Blair's route participation. 7% and 6% the last two games. I think it's just a price thing with Chris Blair that he looks like a fine play at 3.6% ownership. I think that's it. I think those are all my notes. Let me check in on chat. All right. Debro says Sills is a play over Mooney. That is interesting. I'm curious why you think that. I'm gonna keep trying to read up on chat. Spellco says Puka probably catches the Terrell shadow on the outside. That hasn't really been a big thing though this year, right? Like we haven't seen that matter in that much. But yes, if you are poking holes, that's a good way to poke a hole. Puka probably does see shadow coverage. I guess that's better than double teaming though. All right. Like if Puka put up 50, 15 would definitely be a fail for Puka on a full PPR set. That's a big fail. Is Mumpfield that captain the way to play him? Maybe with no Puka. I think he's a fine captain. I don't think that's necessarily, you can play him just fine in the flex also. Plenty of games where he puts up, 12 fantasy points and you want him in the flex, not a captain. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you rooting me on. Go Bijan. Yeah, I'm aware that Mooney has been cheeks this season. I think we're all aware that he's been cheeks this season. But I mean, this is Showdown. He could break out any time. But Debro likes Sills, which I'm curious to hear the thoughts there. Think a one-off with them going more heavy personnel. Okay, so you think that it was the last game, the Charlie Warner thing was a one-off. Okay, I hear what you're saying. So you think that Sills probably gets back to a bigger role. We did, as pointed out in chat earlier, did see 10 targets recently in a game. That was obviously without Drake London. But maybe he takes on a bigger role. All right. D-Rose says that Terrell has not been shadowing for what it's worth. All right. Mooney and Debro adds Mooney's role has been downfield only and not drawing targets. Yeah, I mean 2 targets in the last game, not especially promising. And I mean, if we look at the last 3 games, I think I've got that pulled up. No, this is for the full season. Well, we can still look at that. 60 total targets in 13 games for Mooney. So under 5 targets per game for Mooney on the season. And that includes a lot of games without Drake London. You'd expect it to go down with London back. Sills, 2 targets per game on the season. All right, let's move on to tight ends. I'm going to take a sip of my water. So the trend is I'm underweight as of right now on basically everybody except running backs. Probably more than I need to be. So that might be something I adjust somewhat, certainly be adjusting ownership somewhat. But as of right now, I'm underweight on the tight ends other than Kyle Pitts. So Colby Parkinson, we'll start with the Rams side. Rams have 3 tight ends you can play in Colby Parkinson, Terrence Ferguson, and Davis Allen, all fairly active. Parkinson, their top tight end, 4,400 projected for, 51% flex ownership, 3% captain ownership. Currently, I'm getting well under the field, 15% flex, 2% captain. Pretty strong role for Parkinson in recent weeks. So just last week ran 70.6% of routes. Am I right? Let's see. 70.6 saw 4 targets in that game. If we expand the sample size a little bit, let me pull that up. That was kind of an outlier side to the low side for Colby Parkinson. He's been averaging more than 4 targets per game. Over the past 3, 16 targets. So over 5 targets per game for Colby Parkinson over the past 3. So it had been 6 targets per game prior to the last one on 67% route participation, kind of the leader of the tight end trio for the Rams. I'm underweight. I suspect if he does come in over 50% owned, I will be underweight on Colby Parkinson. Davis Allen is 2,400, projected for 20% ownership. I'm getting to 10% Davis Allen's role, and then we'll pull up the route participation report. Kind of stuck in that 40% route participation range. If you look at the last 3 games overall, Davis Allen, 11 targets, so just under 4 targets per game on 41.5% route participation. That's fine. Like that's 2,400 is a nice price tag on Davis Allen. I am underweight to the field. I think he's a totally fine play. I do think Terrence Ferguson is probably my favorite of the Rams tight ends. 3,400 projected for 17% flex ownership, 1% captain ownership. I'm getting to 7% right now. So I am under the field. I suspect I'll be overweight to the field by the time I get to lock. Love what we've seen recently from Ferguson with about 70% route participation over the past 2 weeks. He is a pass catching tight end, and as Spelkowski so kindly pointed out and wants me to not point out, he's targeted down the field. So getting targets down the field, everything looks pretty good for Ferguson. Just over 2 targets per game over the past 3 games. But I guess if we look at just the last 2, let me pull that up, because the last 2 are really when his role has grown. 6 targets, so 3 targets per game on 70% route participation with a 13-yard ADOT. So he's being targeted down the field, seeing a handful of targets, like big upside for the rookie. And you'd love it if the price were flipped here. He does feel a little bit expensive, but I think Ferguson a fairly strong play with big upside. So I probably end up overweight there. In terms of the matchup, tough one for the Atlanta tight ends, 3rd worst. For the LA tight ends, it is the, 13th worst, if I counted that right, something like that. So not ideal from a matchup standpoint, but not enough that I really care about it. I think, the Rams tight ends are all like fine plays. Parkinson just getting too much ownership. Allen arguably getting too much ownership. Ferguson, I think I'll take a stand in favor. On the Atlanta side, Kyle Pitts, 8,800 projected for 16% flex ownership, 2% captain ownership. I'm getting to 29% flex, 7% captain. So I am well over the field on Pitts. I'm glad to see that because Pitts' role has been just great recently. I mean, if we look at the past 3 games, he's been targeted 10 times per game over the past 3. But then even last week, with the return of Drake London, we still saw Pitts targeted 9 times on 81% route participation. Like this is just a can't put the toothpaste back in the tube situation with Kyle Pitts, not the bottle. You don't get toothpaste out of a bottle. You get out of a tube. You can't put it back in. Kyle Pitts has been too good. So I expect them to continue targeting him. He's expensive, 8,800, but based on his recent production usage, if he's only going to be 18% owned, I want to be overweight on Pitts. So happy with what I'm getting here. Warner is kind of on the flip side of the Sills conversation. He's 1,200 projected for 1% ownership. I'm getting to 12%. Now, again, he was more involved last week. Debro's in chat saying he thinks that this was a one-off situation where they used Charlie Warner more, 42% routes. Probably comes back down. But we have seen a little bit of a positive trend recently. So if you want to play Warner at low ownership, I do think that he's a fairly strong play at 1,200, 1% ownership. I expect that I will be overweight there. Tegan Katoriano, 600. I'm just getting about 1%. Not really enthusiastic about the play. He just doesn't really do much. Let's see. Over the past 3, looks like not even running any routes. So don't think you need to get there. Kickers and defenses. Mason jar toothpaste guy. Yep. Like that. All right, let me move sidebar down. All right. Hey, you're the guy who gave away the Fergie secrets. I'm just your mouthpiece. Do you think the optimal lineup will have at least one quarterback in it? I think it's more likely than not that it will, yeah. Would you consider playing Cousins with Bijan and Algier, fading Atlanta pass catchers as a scenario where Bijan is the leading receiver and Algier scores on the ground? Probably not. Well, like in the flex, maybe. Yeah, I think Bijan is involved enough as a pass catcher that's viable. But I would want Cousins in the flex. I would not want Cousins in the captain spot with Bijan and Algier, I don't think. All right, defenses and kickers. Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker, I'm getting to 36% and one at captain. That might come down a little bit as I get to more of Ferguson and other players, but looks good. They have 21 or so implied team total. Zane Gonzalez 4,800 projected for 24 and 1. I'm getting to 17. Cool with that. Falcons 3,200 projected for 7%. I'm getting to 18%. Great. That's too low if it's 7%. Rams 5,200 projected for 10%. I'm getting to 17 and 1. I got no issue with any of this. Those all seem fine. I probably get to less Mevis as I get elsewhere, but no real issue with those numbers. All right, I'm going to go back to my inputs and make some adjustments because I think there are some areas that I want to that maybe I like more than what I'm getting right now. So first of all, I'm getting so much of the running backs. I'm just going to decrease the rush rate ever so slightly from 45% to 44%, the rush touchdown rate from 39.5 to 38. I think I'll still get tons of Kyron and Corum, but maybe get slightly less and more of the other players on the Rams. I do like Ferguson more than what I'm getting right now, so I'm tempted to boost up his usage slightly. Let's see. I'm not going to get Atwell anyway, so I'm just going to move Atwell down to 1%, Ferguson up to 12. All right. And let's see. How do I get this to 100? There we go. Any ownership issues on... Oh, yeah, Mumfield is way too high. So I'm going to move him down to 30%. And then I'm going to click normalize ownership. Let's see where he ends up. 31.5. All right, that works. So probably moved up everybody else's ownership. Let's see. Is Parkinson really going to get over 50% flex ownership? They've got him at 41. I'm going to move him down slightly also. Going to move the Rams up, and I'll leave them. Kyron probably gets a little bit more, so I'll move him up to 15. Okay. And then on the Falcon side, okay, Bijan's ownership seems really low. So I'm gonna move his ownership up a bit. Who else? Oh, part of the issue was where we had Stafford at 22% cap and ownership. That seems really high. But Mumfield gets a little bit more captain. All right. Pitts probably gets a little bit more. Kind of want more of London in particular. So I'm just going to slightly adjust. Oh, again, I'm going to move the rush rate down slightly. 45.5 to 43. Rush touchdown down to 43. All right, I'm going to try this. I'm going to run it again. See what I get. Any of you guys have exciting sweats tonight in best ball? Thank you for the reminder, Steven. Yeah, please do like the video if you have not already done so. Helps me out quite a bit if you like the video. Also, this is the last video until Sunday, at least the last live stream for Showdown until Sunday, because on no Thursday football this week, no Monday football for week 18. So I guess I'll do a Sunday Night Football live stream. Might do a stream this week with Mathology. I need to talk with him. But yeah, kind of a quiet week for DFS. Ooh, Pepper Tony, look at that. Says gonna hit for 20 to 40K on underdog tonight. Penny, what happens? Appreciate your insights. Appreciate you, Pepper Tony, from these Showdown streams to best ball over the summer. Love to hear that. That's great to hear. Wish I was sweating for 20 to 40K, but let's hope you get the 40K side of things. Oh yeah, there is a Saturday slate. I don't know if I'll do a live stream or a just a pre-recorded video. I've been doing pre-recorded because it's a little bit tighter and just gives me more flexibility. I don't like waking up to do those streams. I also I do a stream in the middle of the day with Scott Barrett on Saturday, so it's difficult timing wise. So I usually put out a video earlier rather than a live stream. But yeah, I haven't decided yet what I'm doing for that. When you say you're sweating Puka, Pitts, and Kyron, you mean you have them. That's good. That's a good place to be. It's more fun when you have the players. Less fun. I don't know. Is it more fun or less fun to be Sam Sherman, who's currently winning $2 million, likely to win $1 to $2 million, but also has to watch the entire game like this? Like, I don't want to see what's happening right now. I guess I'd take that. I would prefer that, to be in his shoes. As opposed to I hope I can win $10,000. Like I'd rather be sweating, maybe not winning $2 million. Alan asked, did that 50K lineup you tweeted hold? So yeah, the lineup I tweeted out was one that had Elijah Higgins in the flex, or no, at tight end. And I was winning 50,000 at one point with that, with a 0 from Elijah Higgins. And I said, now it seems a little fucked up to have Elijah Higgins instead of Michael Mayer. Turns out it would have held if I had played Michael Mayer instead of Elijah Higgins. Literally would have won the contest for $50,000 instead of lost money in that contest. So no, it did not hold. Just the difference between Elijah Higgins and Michael Mayer, the two $2,500 tight ends that I liked, I had the wrong one in there. And instead of winning $50,000, I won negative. I lost money in the contest. I maxed that one out. So that was kind of brutal. Schwa says, this time of year, I'd rather focus on Sunday by playing the Thursday through Monday slate, skip the Saturday, spend Saturday, focus on Sunday main. Otherwise, Saturday tends to take focus away from the good Sunday lineups. Wait, no Thursday? I don't know. I do not typically play those. So you just skip the Saturday slate. Yeah. It's weird with week 18 because it could be just, I don't even know who's playing in week, who's playing when on week 18. It can be gross on week 18 or can be a lot of fun. All right. So I made some adjustments. What am I getting now? Still just 19% Stafford with 1 at captain. So not a ton of Stafford. More Cousins now, 40 and 2 at captain. Still getting a ton of the running backs, 54 and 25 of Bijan, 46 and 17 of Kyron, 48 and 15 of Blake Corum, 29 and 3 of Algier. That all I love getting way overweight on the running backs. The downside is that I'm not getting as much of the receiver as a result. I am getting more Drake London now, so that works. 31 and 11 at captain now. So I am over the field on Drake London. Love to see that. Puka, I'm just at 36 and 10. I don't love being that far underweight on Puka. Now at 14 of Mumfield after moving his projected ownership down. 17% Mooney plus 4 at captain. 3% Xavier Smith. Getting to 9% Chris Blair. Somebody had asked me that. 9% Chris Blair. Was targeted 0 times on 2 routes last week. Was there a reason to think he might get more? I don't think so, because we have... I mean, I guess if Charlie Warner runs fewer routes, Blair could also run more. I don't think we have any real reason for optimism. But he is 200. Getting 2% Sills, 2% Whittington, none of Atwell, none of Drummond. So Debro thinks I need more Sills. Interesting. Maybe I'll do that. So we can cheer for him together. Tight end, Colby Parkinson, I'm at 19-2. Pitts, 32-7. Ferguson, still just at 9% Ferguson. I'd like more there. 5% Allen, 15% Warner, 0% Kittoriano. I'm getting to less of the kickers and defenses now as I'm getting to more of other players. Still 35% Harrison Mevis, though. All right, I have half an hour, so I'm going to just run another one now. All right, so let's see. I'm going to... Wouldn't mind more Stafford. Move the rush rate down to 43%. Rush touchdown rate down to 37%. I think it's still good enough of the running backs. Not really going to get Puka or Whittington anyway, so I am just going to get rid of Tutu. Maybe I'll leave Whittington. Move Puka up to 33% market share. Let's see. Maybe I could move Blair down to 1% receiving and Sills up to 5%. All right. I think that works. Oh, and I wanted more Ferguson. How do I do that? Let's say. Or did I already make that adjustment? Let's move. Let's move Mumfield down to... No. I'm already not getting much Mumfield. Yeah, I'm going to move Whittington down slightly. Down to 1%. Ferguson up to 13%. And let's see. Click off normalize. Or smart adjust, I mean. Move Parkinson down to 18%. There we go. Okay. Running. Agreed. Ferguson looks good. Pivot off of Colby Parkinson. That's right, Sean. You won the Rams-Jags showdown. That was a fun one. All right, Sean. Sean says he wants me to tell him my favorite of the top 10 simmed lineups. I will. I'll do that. Once the new ones are in. Need a throat lozenge or something. Bijan London, I mean, Bijan like obviously projects better than London. I do like London as a contrarian play for the largest fields though. So depends on the lineup. Who else do you have in it? But I'll say I like London better than ownership. I think Bijan is owned appropriately. Is that a reasonable answer? They're both strong plays, but London's the one I'll be overweight to. Schwa says, I think Mumpfield grew up around there. Could be some end zone love for the home crowd narrative. Didn't know that. Could be. I don't play a ton of the narratives, but I think that's a reasonable. If you want to play that narrative, go ahead. Anybody have any fun New Year's plans? I am supposed to be going to a friend's house. I am worried that I'm getting sick. So we'll see. I think after a good night's sleep, I'll feel better. All right, we're almost done with this set of Sims. Pepper Tony, what are you doing with your $20,000 to $40,000 that we're sweating? Do you have big plans for it? $50,000 bank would help, and it should have happened. But a friend of mine, who shall remain nameless, convinced me on Outside the Box, a program that we do together on YouTube. He convinced me that Elijah Higgins was a strong play at 2,500. So I got Elijah Higgins instead of Michael Mayer in the lineup that would have won $50,000. Oh no, that's rough. Good luck. Good luck to you. Puka too chalky and single entry? I wouldn't say so. Oh, damn. Dan going to a 5-course dinner? That's fun. Good for you. You must have gotten reservations like ahead of time, right? All right. New player exposures. Stafford just 19%. Cousins 46-3. I don't love that. Like having way more Cousins than Stafford. I think it's just a matter of the ownership, though. Running back still well over the field on all. Love to see it. Wide receiver. Getting a little bit more Puka now. More London still. Some Mumpfield. A little bit of Xavier Smith. A little bit of David Sills. Less Chris Blair now. None of Whittington Drummond. None of Tutu. Tight end. Man, I cannot get my Ferguson exposure up. Still just at 11%. 35-7 of Pitts, 20-3 of Parkinson, 7 of Allen. Now I'm up to 19% Charlie Warner. That keeps going up, even as I don't adjust anything. Kickers and defenses still just getting the thicker kicker. All right, let's see. And not much of the others. What do I want to change? Do I want more Stafford and Puka? Do I increase the pass rate even more? The problem is I really love the Rams running backs also. So I don't want to do this too much and lose what I have. Maybe I'll move this down and then bring up the point scored to 29, the pace to 62. I think that'll help. Some. Don't really want to lose my London. So I'm gonna get rid of Dylan Drummond and move up Drake London to 29% market share. And move Charlie Warner down to 4%. There we go. I think that'll be good. I need to remember to get these lineups in after I run this one. Is there DFS on New Year's Eve? Maybe NBA. Oh, apologies, Sean. I did not read off the after this run. I'll look at the top lineups. Nice. Everybody's got big plans. All similar. Sean talking to himself in chat. What else is new? You have any leftover turkey, Sean? Yeah, I think hi, I'm Paul asks, why 0-2-2? I know his snaps have been low, but would you consider him a solid stab if you're playing 100 lines? Yeah, I think he's a totally viable play. Again, he ran 7 routes last week, but Tutu can score, on one play payoff. The issue is just that he's 3,000. There's a lot of other strong plays. So I've just decided to focus on other players in his range I like a little bit better. But yeah, I think that he's a fine player to take a stab on. And Luke says, great content, Neil. Thanks for what you do. First year entering showdowns consistently, but you're welcome. Have finished first a few times, but with large chops, so no big takedown in your experience. Is this the norm? Yeah, I mean, it's something that you can try to avoid. There are different players have different ways of playing showdown. If you just try to play like the top projected type lineups, that the players that are the most likely to do well, the lineups that are the most logical constructions, you can win more frequently and you'll win lesser money. So yes, I would say that is a very normal experience, but it's good that the fact that you finished first a few times is impressive. There are ways to attempt to not give up a ton in terms of projection and likelihood of winning and lower your dupes. So some, you have to kind of slate by slate, but on some slates you can leave a lot of money on the table. So, limit yourself to $49,000 or less. There was a full season and actually one of my best seasons in DFS where I was winning in Showdown, limiting myself to 48,200 on like most Showdown slates. Sometimes I'd allow more, but on a lot of Showdown slates, leaving a ton of salary. I think the pricing has maybe gotten more efficient over time, so that's a little bit tougher. So maybe less left on the table than that. But you can leave salary on the table, do things like play the quarterback and the defense of the opposing team in the same lineup, 2 running backs from the same team in the same lineup. Like there's ways you can attempt to get lesser ownership, which the Sims try to accomplish for you. Like they try to predict dupes based on the ownership of the players in your lineup. So you can try to chop less, but you'll probably win less if you really go out of your way to play lineups that are not duplicated. Who do you prefer most as a contrarian captain single entry? Drake London is fairly contrarian, and I think he'd be a good option there. All right. How is FanDuel looking? I have not looked at FanDuel at all today. Let me see how my lineups look and see if I have time. 100K split 25 ways. That's not too bad. That's still some money. All right. Got some bots got to get rid of. All right. I'm going to look at my lineups for you. Do you like Davis Allen much tonight? Yeah, I think Davis Allen is a relatively strong play. I'm going to be under the field because he's getting some ownership. He's probably my 3rd favorite of the Rams tight ends. But yeah, I think he's totally viable, more likely to hit than Tutu Atwell, for example. All right, so Sean, of my top 10, I'm going to X out this top one because it is Darnell Mooney. Don't love that. Second lineup, Colby Parkinson, captain. Don't love that. Kind of like, let's see. Man, not a lot of Puka in these. I was gonna say I sort of like this third lineup, Quorum captain with Kyron in the lineup, leaves a little on the table with Cousins and Pitts, Harrison Mevis, Drake London. That's kind of a fun one. Let me see if I like any of the others better. Man, very few of them have Puka Nacua. This one does. Uses almost the full salary cap. Here it is. Here's my favorite of the top 10, I think. Yeah, I'll go with this one. It is a quadruple running back lineup. We have Blake Corum in the captain with Kyron Williams. Then we also have Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, along with Harrison Mevis and Puka Nacua. Doesn't have any of the quarterbacks, leaves 700 on the table, has all four of the running backs. Again, Blake Corum in the captain spot, Bijan, Mevis, Kyron, Puka, and Algier. I think that's kind of a fun showdown lineup that could hit. Has nice EV. I was trying to find one that has also Drake London in it, along with some of the running backs, but I think that'll do even without Drake London. I think that's a pretty fun lineup. So that's what I would say is my favorite of the top 10. All right, I need to maybe let's download these lineups first before I look at my exposures. Make sure I get something in there. All right. Now let's see what my exposures look like before I probably run the Sims one more time. Still up a little bit more Stafford than before, but still just 27% total, 39% Cousins. That's fine. Running backs, I'm still over the field on Bijan, 52 and 18 at captain. Over the field on Kyron by quite a bit, 41 and 12 at captain. Over the field on Corum, I've got 51% total, 30% Algier. Love that. I'm up to 50% Puka. That feels pretty good. Half lineups seems enough. I'm well into the field, but still that's enough that I can pay it off. I'm now at 52% Drake London, so I'm well over the field there. 17% at captain. Love that. 20% Muntfield. Well into the field, but that's still plenty. 14 and 5 at captain of Mooney is interesting. 4% Xavier Smith, 2% David Sills, 5% Chris Blair. Yeah, this seems close to what I'm aiming for. Tight end, I have now 24 and 3 of Parkinson, 32 and 5 of Pitts, 19 and 2 of Ferguson. So at least I'm over the field now. Just 8% Davis Allen. He's projected for 20%, so I am well under the field there. Still getting a bit. 10% Charlie Warner, 0.3% Tegan Kittoriano. Kickers and defenses, 34% Harrison Mevis, 18% Falcons, 10% Zane Gonzalez, 10% Rams. Cool. All right, I don't hate that. I think I'm about where I'd like to be. Favorite cheap dart throw. Let's see. Definitely Puka over Stafford captain for me. Do you force stack types? Only in the sense that if I have a quarterback in my lineup, because these are non-rushing quarterbacks, I force a stack. If I have either of these quarterbacks at captain, I want them to be stackable with multiple pass catchers. I don't force 5-1, 4-2, that kind of thing. Let's see. Favorite cheap dart throw. Depends on what you mean by cheap, but I like the running backs. I like Algier at 3,800. If you want cheaper than Algier, I like Ferguson at 3,400. I guess Charlie Warner at 1,200. Again, it might just be kind of a one-off, but we do have two off now, 33 and 42% route participation in the past couple of games. Not exactly a target earner anyway, but how many targets the last couple of games? 3 total targets the past 3 games. We don't have any like super strong. I mean, Mumfield is the one that is like the likeliest to hit. To be clear, Mumfield at 2,200 is the best of these values, I think. Like below 3,000, he's just getting a lot of ownership. Is the only downside to Mumfield. So I guess he would be my favorite value, just not a contrarian value. Heyo, Jackson has to be the cheap dart throw. Yeah, Jackson Dart. Also in my best ball lineup, but also has Drake May, so didn't need him. All right. Am I going to bother running another sim? Could try to get to more Stafford. I might be close enough at this point. I'm still only 2% Sills. I know Debro liked him, so maybe I should be trying to get to more Sills. But I like everything else that I'm getting right now, for the most part. Pretty close to where I'd like to be. I could move some of the Warner usage to Sills potentially, or Catoriano. Actually, let me look at that, because I don't need any Catoriano, frankly. So let's try this. There we go. Maybe that'll get me a little bit more Sills. I don't want to like redo everything. I'm going to move Stafford captain to 11%. Cousins captain to 4. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to run it one more time, because I probably have time. Hopefully it doesn't. I'll see if I like it. And if I don't, I guess I just won't enter the new lineups. This is the one. That's right. I think it's reasonable to fade Kirk. I'm getting 40% or so, which seems fine. Is the total leverage just for flex? I don't think I know the column you're talking about. I'll have to look. Mumfield, Kyron, or Bijan, Blair in a single entry? I'd say Mumfield, Kyron. I think Blair is just pretty likely to be a 0. What's up, Vic? Love you too. Let's get it next year with best ball. Let's win some tournaments. Dan asks, can we get to 100 likes? What do you think? Can we do it? Appreciate you guys. All right, 6 minutes until lock, until everybody's who has big best ball sweats has a heart attack. Moment of truth for Sam Sherman. And for users who I don't know on DraftKings, I don't think I really know anybody at the top. Aaron asks, Hardy and Tyson on your radar? So that's Missouri and Arizona. Are we talking college football players? I will not know those names until the new best ball contests come out and I start drafting them in best ball. So don't know anything about those guys. You know who I do know is Bear Bachmeyer. I don't know him personally, but the people that I had at my house on Saturday, some of them are his relatives, are like his, great aunt, maybe. I don't know. Family friends of mine who I've known my entire life, my parents' generation, and then their children who are my age are relatives of Bear Bachmeyer, college quarterback. So my parents' generation of that family actually left the party to go watch his game. I'm forgetting what team he plays for now, but they're obsessed with watching him. Not playing a ton of Kirk. I think that's reasonable. Yes, BYU quarterback. Cool nickname. Torn between Kirk and Pitts. I mean, it's going to depend on a lot of who's in your lineup. I think if you have two or more Atlanta wide receiver / tight ends, I'd go with Kirk. If you have fewer, if you have fewer than two tight ends plus wide receivers on Atlanta, I'd go with Pitts. That's how I'd break that tie. More Mevis than Kirk. So you're using the Sims. Reminder, if you're not already in the Flaniverse Discord, it is free to join. There's a link in the description of this video. If you want to come hang out, talk best ball, a lot of Saul playing playoff best ball, which I have not really been engaging because I have not had time to actually play myself. So I have not racked my head around what looks good right now. But probably going to be starting very soon, playing a ton of playoff best ball. Talk about that. Talk about real best ball soon. Regular season best ball, I should say. DFS, TV, whatever else. Sean says I may try a playoff best ball. It's very fun. Until your teams are out, then it's very fun. Malik Willis at quarterback 1 for another team will probably be a key guy to draft for 26, Aaron says. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he was almost written off on the Titans. He looked pretty bad. It was kind of like you can't play anybody on the Titans when Malik Willis is a starter for a while, and he's looked so much better for the Packers. Yeah, please do like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Good luck to everybody. How close are you to the Quality Learning Center? I don't think I know the Quality Learning Center. I'm not going to get these sims in, by the way. It has become clear to me. We're not going to get this done in time. I thought it might be close, but pretty happy with what I was getting. I'm okay with it. If David Sills kills me, then it is what it is. Oh, Leering Center. Quality Leering Center. I don't know it. Apologies. Probably not that close, though. All right, we're going to get out of here because we're not getting these lineups in. Appreciate you all for watching. I will see you hopefully soon. Stay in touch. I'll be doing a Sunday Night Football show at the very least. I'll get some videos out. Maybe I'll do a live stream for Saturday. Not sure yet, but at the very least, I'll be back for Sunday Night Football. All right, I'm going to get out of here. thank you all. Good luck tonight. Hopefully you win something in DFS or best ball or your fantasy championship, whatever. Maybe all of them. Good luck.